She stood alone in the middle of the war circle. The ground was stained with dust and blood. Broken weapons lay scattered around her feet. Her breathing was calm. Her eyes sharp as blades watched the silent crowd. Her name was Varel. She was tall, even for her kind. Her muscles were tight like coiled steel. Her armor, dark and sharp-edged, still glowed from the heat of battle. Across her face ran a long scar, not from weakness, but from refusing to kneel. No one spoke. No one moved. Even the war priests, the ones who were trained to chant after a match, stayed silent. They feared her. Varel didn't care. She had won again, just like always, another challenger defeated. Another warrior dragged out of the circle. But with each victory, her loneliness grew heavier. In her world, strength was everything. But she was too strong. The males avoided her. The females whispered behind her back. They called her a beast in armor and the cursed daughter of war. No one dared to love her. No one dared to get close. Because Varel didn't bend, and her people hated what they couldn't control. So she kept winning. And kept dying on the inside. Until one day, during a trial of warriors, something strange happened. The elders announced a special match. A test of balance, they called it. A warrior must face someone not of their own kind. The crowd laughed when they saw him step forward. A human. He was not large. Not covered in armor, no glowing eyes, no bio-enhanced muscles. Just a human. Male, wearing light gear, standing on bare ground. He looked ordinary. Fragile even, but his eyes didn't look away from her. Varel narrowed her gaze. "You mock me," she said, her voice like thunder. He didn't flinch. "I don't," he said calmly. "But I've heard stories about you." "Then you came to die?" "No," he said. "I came to see who you really are." The crowd laughed louder. The war priests looked at each other in disbelief. The elders frowned. But rules were rules. The match was accepted. Varel stepped forward, drawing her curved blade from her back. "You can still walk away, human," she said. "This is not your world, I know," he replied. "But maybe it should be." The crowd fell silent again. The human had said something dangerous. Varel rushed forward, blade flashing through the air, but something unexpected happened. The human didn't run. He didn't even draw a weapon. He dodged. Fast, smooth, like water moving around stone. He rolled under her arm, jumped to the side, then ducked again. He moved like someone who knew how to survive, not just how to fight. Varel blinked, surprised. The human reached for a stick on the ground. Not even a blade, just a broken spear. He spun it once in his hand, steady. "Fight me seriously," she growled. "I am," he replied, but not with hate. They moved again. This time she struck. Faster, harder. Her blade hissed through the air, meant to end him. But again he dodged, blocked with his stick, slid to safety. The crowd was no longer laughing. The human was still bleeding from a shallow cut on his side. His face was pale, but his feet stayed firm, his eyes locked on hers. He wasn't scared. He was learning. Minutes passed. Then something happened that Varel didn't expect. She started enjoying the fight. Not because it was easy, but because he respected her. He wasn't trying to beat her for glory. He wasn't showing off. He was seeing her as a person. For the first time in her life, she felt seen. She slowed her attacks. Her breathing grew heavier. Not from exhaustion, but emotion. Her eyes burned. Not from pain, but confusion. Why wasn't he running? Why wasn't he afraid? Then she made a mistake. A swing too wide. He ducked, slid under her arm, and tapped her side with the broken spear. The war priests gasped. That counted as a strike. She could have ended it right there. One swing, one cut. He was open, exposed, but she didn't move. The crowd waited. Instead, she dropped her blade. Gasps echoed across the arena. VRL stepped back and looked him in the eyes. "Your name?" she asked softly. "Eli," he said. She nodded once. "You have my respect, Eli." And then, for the first time in her life, Varel bowed. Not as a sign of weakness, but as a sign of beginning. Eli stood in the war circle, chest rising and falling, a streak of blood running down his side. He still held the broken spear in one hand, cracked and barely useful. But his eyes, those human eyes, were calm. Varel stared at him. She had never bowed to anyone, not even to her own commanders. Yet she had done it for him, not because he was stronger, but because he didn't treat her like a monster. Because when the rest of the galaxy looked at her and saw a weapon, he saw a person, and that confused her. The crowd around them didn't know what to do. The silence was deep. The war priests whispered. The elders argued among themselves. Then the gong rang again, loud and sharp. The match wasn't over. The elders weren't satisfied. "The trial continues," one of them announced. This was only phase 1. Varela's eyes narrowed. "What do you mean? A warrior must prove more than strength. He must survive the path of iron." A metal door opened at the side of the arena. Cold mist rolled out. Behind it, a tunnel of glowing red light. Eli turned toward it. "What's in there?" he asked. Varel looked at him. "Pain." They walked together into the tunnel. It was not meant for humans. The gravity inside was 10 times heavier. The walls were lined with spikes, moving traps, and heat vents. The floor cracked under every step. Breathing became difficult. Eli dropped to one knee after only 10 meters. "Go back," Varel said. "This is foolish. No human can pass this. Your bones will snap." He looked up at her with a half smile. "You're still walking." "I'll try." He stood again. Step by step, his legs trembled. His forehead was soaked in sweat. Every breath came like fire. Varel moved beside him. She didn't help him, but she didn't leave him either. In her mind, questions burned. Why was he doing this? Why suffer for a world that didn't want him? For her, the answer came from his lips, quiet, between 2 painful breaths. "I'm not proving myself to them. I'm proving it to you." She stopped walking. Something cracked inside her chest. A shield she didn't know was there. The tunnel changed. Ahead of them, the gravity reversed, suddenly flipping them onto the ceiling. The traps reset. A wall of fire swept toward them from behind. Eli collapsed again. Varel turned, her instincts screaming to run. But she didn't. She lifted him, her arms locked around his chest, and with one deep breath, she carried him forward. The flames roared behind them, licking her armor. He coughed into her shoulder. "You're not supposed to help." "I'm not," she said. "I'm choosing to." They passed the final trap, an acid mist designed to test nerve and patience. She wrapped his face in her cape, shielding him. Her skin burned, but she didn't stop. They fell out of the tunnel and onto the platform. Alarms stopped. The trial was complete. The war priests stared. The elders were silent. For the first time in their long history, a human had passed the path of iron, not by strength alone, but through will, through sacrifice. And not alone. Together. Later, as medics wrapped Eli's wounds in glowing gel, Varel stood nearby, arms crossed. He looked at her and smiled. "Told you I'd walk beside you." She didn't smile back, but her voice softened. "You didn't walk. You crawled. Still counts." A soft chuckle escaped her lips before she could stop it. The moment didn't last long. The messenger arrived, a drone bearing the mark of the High Queen. It floated before Varel and announced in a sharp voice, "The Queen demands your presence. Both of you, immediately." Varela's expression turned hard. "Why?" Eli asked. "She doesn't like being challenged," Varel said. "And by accepting you, I may have started a war." The royal chambers were cold, not in temperature, but in feeling. Tall crystal walls curved around a black throne made from the bones of star beasts. Red light flickered through the ceiling, casting shadows across the polished floor. Servants, with no mouths, moved silently. Eyes lowered. In the center of it all sat High Queen Sithara, the iron ruler of Varel's people. Her face was calm, but her eyes burned like twin suns. Varel stood straight as a blade beside Eli, who looked out of place, still bandaged from the trial, still wearing cracked armor, still breathing harder than he should. But he stood tall. The queen's voice rang out sharp and cold. "You let a human touch your skin in front of the council." Varel didn't flinch. "He earned his place beside me. He has no place in our bloodlines. Our future is bred from strength." Eli stayed quiet. He wasn't here to speak unless needed. The queen rose from her throne. Her gown shimmered like liquid armor. Her steps echoed with power. "Then choose, Varel. You have brought shame and curiosity. The people are watching. Either breed with him and make use of this circus, or be exiled forever." Silence fell like a blade. Eli blinked. Breed with? Varel's jaw tightened. She had faced monsters, commanders, and storms across dead worlds, but this moment made her stomach twist. It wasn't an offer. It was a command dressed as a choice. "Your words are poison," Varel said. The queen's gaze hardened. "Then drink it." But Eli stepped forward. He looked directly at the queen. He didn't shout. He didn't raise his hand. He simply said, "She's not a tool. Not a breeding project. She decides, not you." Gasps rippled across the chamber. The guards moved instantly, aiming long staffs of energy at Eli's chest. One spark would melt his ribs, but Varel stepped between them. "Touch him," she growled, "and I will burn this chamber to the bones." The queen smiled, not kindly. "Then you have made your choice." She waved her hand. A screen lit up behind her, projecting Varela's name. Next to it, "Exiled." Moments later, they were thrown into the outer halls of the palace. Eli sat against a pillar, catching his breath. Varel didn't look at him. She stared at the massive door that had just closed behind them. Her chest rose and fell with rage. He finally said, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make things worse." "You didn't," she said quietly, "but you've lost everything." She turned to him slowly. "No," she said. "I finally found something worth keeping." He looked at her, unsure if she meant him or something else. Before he could ask, alarms echoed through the palace halls. Varel turned her head. "They're not done with us." Eli stood. "They're coming?" She nodded, not to exile, to silence. The sky above the capital turned red. Ships hovered like wasps, and security mechs rolled into the lower city. The queen had changed the game. Varel was now labeled rogue, and Eli was marked as an outside contaminant, a threat to blood purity. They needed to leave the planet. Fast. Through secret paths, old mining tunnels, and forgotten ventways, they moved like ghosts. Varel's knowledge of the palace worked against its own guards. Eli tried to keep up, though his body ached. Every step reminded him he was only human, but she waited for him now. She didn't leave him behind. They reached the edge of the launch sector, where stolen ships were often kept before being stripped for parts. Eli looked at the broken shuttle in the hangar. "That can fly?" Varel smirked. "I don't need it to fly. I need it to run." They worked in silence. She rerouted power. He stabilized the fusion coils. 2 hours later, the ship roared to life. Alarms screamed again. Closer. Guards entered the hangar. Eli stepped toward the pilot's seat. "I'll drive, you shoot." She looked at him and for the first time smiled fully. "No," she said. "We do both, together." As the ship lifted, fire burst around them. They weaved through towers and energy nets, escaping the queens capital by inches. In the sky above, a transmission crackled through their ship. The queen's voice. "Run as far as you want, Varel. The stars are small, and I always find my prey." Varel shut off the signal. "Let her come," she said. "I'm done hiding who I am." Eli looked out the window as the stars came closer. "You're not alone anymore." And neither of them was. The stolen ship drifted in the black silence between systems. Its hull rattled every few minutes. The engines coughed like tired lungs. Half the lights inside flickered. It wasn't built for speed. It wasn't built for safety. It was barely built at all. But for now, it was home. Eli sat near the control console, wrapping a fresh bandage around his shoulder. The wound from the last escape still burned. The cold metal floor beneath him made his bones ache. But he didn't complain. Varel was standing across from him, arms crossed, watching the star maps flicker. She hadn't spoken in hours. "Do you think she'll stop?" Eli finally asked. "The Queen?" Varel replied without turning. "She's already sent hunters." "How do you know?" She tapped a screen. A red dot was blinking on the edge of the map. "That ship," she said, "belongs to my former squad." Eli looked up. "Your squad?" She nodded. "They trained with me, fought beside me, laughed with me, then feared me." He stayed quiet. "They were like family. Until I stopped following orders." A long silence passed between them. "She trained them to be like you?" Eli asked. "No," she said. "She trained them to kill me if I ever forgot my place." Hours later, the proximity alarm screamed. 3 ships fast armed and painted in the royal black were closing in. "They found us," Varel said. "How?" Eli asked, gripping the edge of the pilot's seat. "They know how I think, how I fly. They followed the pattern I used to avoid them." "Can we outrun them?" She shook her head. "This ship can't." "So what do we do?" Varel's eyes glowed faintly under the flickering lights. "We don't run. We trap them." They entered a dead zone in space, an abandoned mining field filled with broken satellites, empty fuel stations, and shattered moons. It was chaos in all directions. Perfect for an ambush. Varel guided the ship between asteroid wrecks and scrap tunnels. "Hide us in the debris," she told Eli. "What about you?" She stood, checking her armor. "I'm going out there." "What?" he said, grabbing her wrist. "You'll be outnumbered." She looked down at his hand. "Didn't pull away. I've faced worse," she said softly. "But if they board us, you won't survive. They don't take prisoners. They burn witnesses." Eli clenched his jaw. "Then let me help." "You already are," she said. "You made me want to live. That's more than anyone's done." And with that, she stepped into the airlock and launched herself into space. The attackers didn't expect her to strike first. One ship exploded before they even saw her coming, hit by a bomb she planted in a drifting fuel core. The second ship chased after her through the asteroid field, crashing into the wreckage of a mining drill. But the third ship docked. And soldiers boarded Eli's shuttle. He grabbed the small blaster Varel had left him. He wasn't trained. He wasn't fast. But he wasn't afraid either. The door burst open. 3 armored warriors stepped through, taller than humans, eyes glowing with hate. Eli fired once, then ducked. The shot hit one in the chest but didn't stop him. They fired back. Sparks flew. Metal groaned. He ran, sliding across the floor to cover. Then came a sound he didn't expect. Metal boots landing hard behind them. Va single quotes R-E-L-L. She tore through them like a storm. No words. No mercy. The last one dropped with a shattered helmet. Varel stood over them, chest rising, blood dripping from her blade. Eli peeked out from cover. "You okay?" She nodded. Then fell to her knees. He rushed to her. Blood soaked her side. She looked at him, trying to smile. One of them got lucky. "You're hurt," he said, catching her before she collapsed. She whispered, "Don't let me sleep." "Why?" "Because if I sleep now, I may never wake up." He laid her on the floor, grabbing the medkit. The tools were alien, unfamiliar. blinking with strange lights, but he worked fast. Following memory, instinct, hope, he stopped the bleeding. Injected pain blockers. Sewed her skin with burning gel foam. Her breathing slowed. He leaned in. "Stay with me." Her eyes fluttered open. Still, annoying ... human. He laughed, half crying. "You're going to be fine." She gripped his wrist weakly. "You saved me. You saved me first." Later, as she rested, he sat beside her. The screen blinked again. More red dots were coming. More ships ... more hunters ... But now, he didn't feel alone. And she, who once stood without needing anyone, reached for his hand in the quiet of space. The first time, not as a warrior, but as someone tired of being hunted. The silence in the ship felt heavy. Varel was healing slowly. But something was wrong. Her skin, once smooth and cold like polished stone, had turned fever-hot. Strange black lines were spreading along her neck and arms, veins that pulsed. Glowing faintly under the skin, her breathing was uneven. Her eyes, normally sharp and steady, now flickered with something wild. Eli sat beside her, watching closely. She hadn't spoken in hours. Her body trembled, muscles twitching like something inside her was fighting her. He gently touched her shoulder. She flinched hard. Then growled. Not from pain, but something deeper. "Varel," he whispered. "Talk to me." Her eyes snapped, open, bright, glowing with fire. She looked at him, but didn't recognize him. I can't," she rasped, voice thick with something unnatural. "It's waking up. What is?" She shook her head, gripping her temples. Her claws scraped her own scalp. "I told you. I was bred for war, built to be stronger. But they never told me how they made me." She looked up at him. Her voice cracked. "They used something ancient, something alive. A parasite fused into my bloodline. Makes us faster, tougher. But if left unchecked, it eats our minds." Eli went still. "You mean this thing, it's inside you?" She nodded slowly. "Most die before it takes control. But I've held it back my whole life." He stared at her, feeling helpless. "And now?" he asked. "I'm losing," she whispered. Then her body ceased, arching off the bed. A scream tore from her throat, inhuman, echoing through the ship like a monster was being born. Eli rushed forward, holding her down, trying to keep her still. Her strength was terrifying. "Varel!" he shouted. Her hand slammed into the wall, cracking steel. "I'll hurt you," she hissed. "You have to leave. Lock the door. Go. I'm not leaving you." She opened her mouth to shout, but her jaw cracked suddenly, as if something inside was changing its shape. A tear slipped down her face. "Please, Eli, I don't want to kill you." Her voice, so strong for so long, sounded small now, like a child begging not to be alone. He didn't move. Instead, he opened the medical locker and pulled out an old human neural stabilizer, a rusty, half-broken headband device used for brain injury treatment. "What are you doing?" She growled. "I'm going to fix this," he said. "You're not a doctor. I'm your friend." That made her freeze for a second. Then she screamed again, back arching. The black veins spread across her chest. Her nails turned black, growing longer. She was changing. He didn't hesitate. He strapped the stabilizer onto her head, plugged in wires, ran power through a converter. The ship lights flickered. Then he tapped the console and activated the neural pulse. Her body jolted. A loud snap echoed through the room, and she went still. For a terrifying moment, Eli thought she was dead. No breathing, no movement, just silence. He dropped to his knees beside her, tears welling in his eyes. Then she gasped. Her back arched again, but slower. Her fingers trembled. Her eyes opened, clouded, but human again. "I'm here." Her fingers reached weakly for his face. "You stayed." He took her hand. "Of course I did. You're an idiot." He laughed through the tears. "Yeah, that's kind of my thing. Hours later, she sat up in bed, wrapped in blankets. The black veins had faded. Her voice was back to normal. "I can feel it," she said softly. "It's still there, sleeping, but not gone." "Will it wake up again?" She looked at him. "If I get too angry, too emotional, or if I ever lose control, then I'll help you stay balanced," he said. She studied him. "Why do you care so much?" "Because you let me see the real you. And now I want to protect that." She was quiet for a moment, then leaned her head on his shoulder. "I've never had anyone choose me without fear," she whispered. "You're the first." He held her hand, and the galaxy felt quiet for a moment. But the peace didn't last. A warning alarm echoed through the ship. Eiley looked at the screen. A message had been intercepted. From the Queen. "Let her run. The parasite will finish what I began." She tear the human apart herself. Varel stared at the message, face pale. Eli looked at her. "She planned for this?" Varel nodded slowly. "She was never sending me to exile. She was sending me to self-destruction." The parasite was alive. It wasn't just hiding in Varel, it was growing, feeding on every surge of emotion. Every moment she cared, feared, or loved. It fed. And now it was reaching her heart. She stood in the corner of the ship, gripping the railing. Sweat dripped from her forehead. Her body trembled with silent rage, not at Eli, but at herself. "I can feel it," she said. "Like a second heartbeat. It wants me to snap, to lose control." Eli watched her from across the control room. He had read the message again. The Queen wanted this. She had known about the parasite's growth. Had sent Varel to die slowly or worse, to destroy everything she touched. Varel looked at him, eyes sharp but tired. "You should run. Go somewhere I can't reach you." He didn't move. "No, this isn't your fight." He stepped closer. "Yes, it is." She looked at him, face torn between fury and fear. "I don't want to hurt you, Eli." He said nothing. Instead, he tapped a console. The screen behind him lit up, showing a scan of her body. Lines of code. Heat maps. An outlined mass near her heart. "I scanned you while you were unconscious," he said. "I didn't know what I was looking for, but now I do." "You're not a surgeon," she said sharply. "No," he agreed. "But this ship used to be a medical vessel before it was stripped. I can use the systems, the stabilizer, the drone. Arms, I've got instructions, and I've got a reason to try. You'll kill me, or I'll save you." She stared at him. Eli stepped forward, now close enough to touch her. "You saved me when I didn't belong in your world. Let me return the favor." There was silence. Then slowly she placed her hand on his. Her voice broke as she said, "Do it." They cleared the medbay and strapped her to the stabilizer rig. It wasn't pretty. The equipment was rusty, the software half broken. The lights flickered above like dying stars. Eli wiped his hands. His heart pounded so hard it hurt. "I'm going to have to lower your body temp, slow your heartbeat. The parasite is tied to your nervous system. If I don't time it right, you'll either kill the parasite or stop your heart." She nodded. "Understood. Are you scared?" She gave a weak smile. "Only of dying without telling you what I feel." He paused. "I care for you, Eli," she whispered. "More than I should. More than I've ever allowed myself to." His hands trembled, but he nodded. Then he placed the oxygen mask over her face. "Come back to me," he said, and activated the surgical program. The ship's lights dimmed. Cold air flooded the room. Her body shivered as the temperature dropped. The drone arms moved in, scanning her chest. Eli guided them, watching the data, reading nerve patterns, following glowing veins that slithered like worms through her bloodstream. The parasite fought back. Her body arched. Her pulse spiked. "Hold on," Eli whispered. The parasite flared near her heart, glowing bright on the scan. It had wrapped itself around her like a vine strangling a tree. "No direct cut," he muttered. "Too risky." He paused. then looked at the neural stabilizer still on her head. An idea. If he couldn't cut it out, maybe he could fry it. He rerouted power from the ship's core directly to the stabilizer. A dangerous move. It could burn her mind. Or burn the parasite. He whispered, "Forgive me," and triggered the charge. Her body jolted. Smoke rose from her chest. The parasite lit up like lightning under her skin, thrashing, writhing, and then darkness. No. Glow. The screen went flat. So did her pulse. "No," Eli gasped, ripping the mask away. "No, no, no, don't you dare." He slammed his fists onto her chest, once, twice, desperate. "Come back. You said you weren't scared. You said you cared. You can't leave me." Then her fingers twitched. Her chest rose. A breath, then another. Her eyes opened, not glowing, not trembling, just alive. "You talk too much," she whispered weakly. He dropped to his knees beside her. "Never do that again," he choked out. She reached for his face. "I think you just saved me," and kissed my heart in the same moment. He smiled through tears, romantic for a war machine. She pulled him close. Not anymore. They stayed like that, quiet, breathing the same air, the hum of the ship the only sound. Then a screen blinked behind them, a message. "The Queen's fleet is moving. Her champion approaches." Final challenge issued. Varel stood up slowly, breathing steady. "No more running," she said. Eli nodded. "Together?" She smiled, "Always." The Queen's fleet arrived like thunder, 30 ships, hundreds of elite warriors, all under the command of one figure, the Queen's champion. His name was Kortek, bred for war. Clad in obsidian armor, taller than Varel, stronger than most war beasts. His weapon was not just a blade, it was a living relic, pulsing with the blood of those it had killed. And now he stood on the landing field of a forgotten moon, waiting for her. The stolen ship landed quietly. Varel stepped out first. No fear in her walk. No helmet. Just armor, scarred and dark, and her own name carved across her shoulder in her native tongue. Eli followed her, a blaster on his side, but his true weapon was his presence. Steady, loyal, "You could still run," she said softly, not looking back. He replied, "Only if you're running too." She smiled faintly, "I'm done running." They stepped onto the black sand, facing the army. At the center stood the champion. He grinned, fangs bare. "They told me you'd gone soft, Varel. But you came anyway." She said nothing. "Why?" "Bring your pet human?" he asked, mocking. "Want him to watch before I break you?" Eli stepped forward. "You're talking too much." Laughter echoed from the soldiers. Kortek raised his weapon. "Let's finish this." The battle began. Blades clashed. The earth cracked. Varel moved like lightning, faster than she'd ever been. The parasite was gone, her body lighter, her strike sharper, but Kortek was a wall of death. Every swing sent shockwaves. Every roar made the soldiers cheer. Eli stayed back, watching, ready. But this was not his fight. Not yet. Varel was bleeding. One of her ribs cracked, but she didn't fall. She smiled, even as pain laced her jaw. "You never learn to adapt." She told Kortek between blows, "You only know power." He snarled, "It's the only thing that matters." "Not anymore." With a sudden spin, she swept his legs out and drove her blade into his armor's weak point, just below the collar. The monster dropped to one knee. Gasping, she stood over him. The soldiers went silent. "You've lost," she said. "Kortek spat blood. Finish it." But she turned away. "I'm not your beast anymore." The Queen appeared on the projection screen, hovering above the battlefield, her face twisted in rage. "You disobeyed the ancient rite. You refused the final blow. You are no leader." But the soldiers didn't cheer for her. They watched via single quotes RELL. She had shown strength and mercy. She had survived exile, the parasite, betrayal, and war. And beside her stood the human, the outsider who never once ran. Irel turned to the projection. I don't want your throne. The queen smirked. Then what do you want? Varel looked at Eli. Took his hand and said, if I rule, I do it with him. No more bloodlines, no more fear, a new way, a choice. Gasps rippled across the army. Then one soldier dropped to one knee. Then another, then 10. Then all, even. Korhik lowered his head. The queen's projection glitched panic in her eyes. You can't do this, but her voice cut off. The screen went black. Later, in the quiet glow of the moonlight, Varel sat beside Eli on the edge of the field. The fires had gone out. The battle was over. He looked at her. So, you're a queen now? She chuckled. Not yet. Planning to be? Only if you'll be there beside me. He smiled. I wasn't made for thrones. You were. Made for something stronger, she said. You were made for me. She leaned in. Their foreheads touched. Alien and human. Warrior and heart. She had been too. Intimidating for her species. But he wasn't afraid. He stepped up. And in doing so, he changed a world.